The witness. Before the courtroom, there was the kitchen. I cannot say this often enough. This year has been a lot. I know I'm not the only one feeling it, and I think of T.S. Eliot's line, I have measured out my life with coffee spoons, except my coffee spoons have been medicine bottles and dreaded phone calls. Also coffee. This week, I'm talking about witnesses. What it means to be one, what it means to receive one, and what it means to witness your own life while you're still living it. This week, I had a surprise visit from Tamar Reno and Sherry Barker. My knee-jerk response to any change of plans, transition, or suggestion is to say no right away. Maybe I'm trying to buy time to consider all my options. I realize that it's a habit, and I'm better now at letting the staff at the farm know that I will say no to anything if I haven't had time to think it over. They've learned to approach me slowly, and it helps to have a map and a spreadsheet. I almost said no when Sherry messaged us to say she'd be in the area and would like to stop by the farm. A visit didn't seem possible. I didn't feel like it could happen, and I had the easy job. All I had to do was open the front door. Miraculously, I didn't say no. Tamar didn't say no, and less than 24 hours after Sherry suggested we finally all convene in the same spot, I was sitting around a kitchen table with two of the most talented, brilliant women I know. I'm so glad that I didn't say no. As I reluctantly hugged them both goodbye, the visit was too short. I started thinking about how much our kitchen has seen in the 6 short months since we moved to Lavender Hill. We inherited ghosts in this place, but we also brought a lot of our own. They move about in the shadows and flavor our comings and goings. There's a long, deep drawer in the kitchen counter. It doesn't have a handle, and it blends into the cabinetry. Incredibly easy to miss. We'd been moved into the farm for weeks before Christopher and my mother helped me to see it. This hidden, useful thing that had been there the whole time. I'd been whining about needing a central spot to stash my father's ever-changing medicine bottles, and the answer was built into the cabinets, waiting. The kitchen abuts the front old section of the house, where my father lay in a hospital bed, separated by a swinging door. A butler door, my mother says. The room is empty now. The bed is gone. I've stacked art against the walls, all the pictures I haven't had time to hang yet, alongside boxes of things that I haven't unpacked yet. So many things haven't been unpacked, physically and symbolically. I'm unpacking as I write. Thank you for being here to witness. That drawer in the kitchen is now filled with my meds, with little teeny tiny baby Indigo's meds, and with the residual pieces of my father's caregiving that I haven't had the time or the bandwidth to deal with. And because the drawer exists, because Christopher and my mother helped me find it, I can count pills in the open. There's usually someone there talking to me as I dose the cat or fill my own little pill bottle for the week. There are witnesses to the medicine. When Tamar and Sherry and I gathered around the kitchen table, that table running parallel to the long hidden drawer, there was, in a soul way, witnesses to the medicine. These two women who have known me through the very worst sat in the kitchen in a house full of unpacked boxes in the year that has been a lot. We didn't talk about all that. We didn't have to. This week, I'm writing about bearing witness, what it means to be a witness, and what it means to receive the gift of being witnessed. Bearing witness. We have inherited a model of support that is almost entirely built from action. To support someone is to do something, to bring food, to send an article, to offer resources, to name a therapist, or help them reframe a thought that is clearly distorted. None of these things are wrong, but underneath most of them runs a current of, Your distress is a problem, and I'm here to help resolve it. The clock starts when someone begins to suffer in front of us. We can hold space, as the saying goes, for a reasonable duration. But if the prayer goes too long, or if the grief doesn't begin its expected arc towards resolution, or if the hard year becomes a harder year, or if the person we love is still standing in the same field of pain at month 8 that they were standing in at month 2, something in us becomes frustrated and desperate. We don't shift because we're cruel and impatient, but our discomfort takes over. We can't stand being near someone suffering without being able to end it. We are trained by efficiency, by the mythology of fixing, and by our own unprocessed relationship with helplessness to move people through pain rather than to remain inside their pain with them without absorbing everything as our own. The instinct to help is often the instinct to make the discomfort stop, our discomfort. If we can get the person to a better place, we are no longer required to remain with them in a place that sucks. How do we mend this impulse towards speedy action and clean chapters within us? Knowing as knowledge. A witness is someone who watches. It's calling someone to the stand or signing the bottom of a document to confirm something happened. But the word is older than the courtroom and more intimate than legal records. The word witness comes from Old English, witness, and didn't originally mean a person doing something. It began as a condition meaning knowledge. Witnessing was about understanding by having been present enough to know. It was built from wit, the same root that gives us the word for intelligence, our mind perceiving and retaining, combined with the suffix ness, meaning the quality or state of a thing. A witness was not originally someone who watched from the outside. A witness was someone who knew from the inside. The two were considered inseparable. You could not witness what you did not know. You could not know without having been present for the thing itself. The word shifted over time from the abstract condition of knowledge to the concrete state of a person who carries the knowledge. The witness became a noun with a body, someone who could be called, summoned, and placed on a stand to speak about what they knew because they had seen it. Inside knowledge became something that could be transferred outward as a testimony and used to establish truth in public record. This is why legal documents still require a witness. The witness at a signing is someone appointed to be present at a transaction to testify that it took place. Their presence is evidentiary. The witness is there to make the event real in the public record, to say with a name and with a body, someone was here. This thing happened because I saw it. The meaning to see or know by personal presence only entered the language in the 1580s, which is interesting. For most of the word's life, witnessing was not primarily about seeing, it was about knowing. The seeing was assumed to be in service of the knowing. You were present so that you could carry the knowledge forward. The eyes were simply the instrument, and knowing was the point. Beneath all this is the Greek understanding that is still ever present today through Christianity's use of the word witness. This meaning arrived in the late 14th century and was a direct translation of the Greek martis, the same root that gives us martyr. A martyr was literally a witness, one who knew something to be so deeply true they would die for it. In the modern day, we flattened all that down into a signature line at the bottom of a will. Witnessing something isn't a passive act. When we witness, we take another person's reality into our own bodies, carry it forward, and be willing, when the moment requires it, to say, "This was real. I know because I experienced it." So when Tamar, Sherry, and I sat around a kitchen table, we were collectively experiencing each other, bearing witness to our lives. And that is what you're doing right now, reading this or listening to me read to you. Your witnessing is the medicine. Sharing space. As always, the animal world gives us clues to balance our inner knowing with all the outer noise. When a horse in a herd is dysregulated, frightened, grieving, in pain, the others don't attempt to fix the problem. Instead, they move closer and orient their bodies toward the herd member in need. Often, one will stand flank to flank, offering the calm of its own nervous system as a resource. I watched this happen when we moved to the new farm and lost Sheba. Moose held vigil for Penny, an Amish mare who had long bonded with Sheba. Once Penny found her way forward, Moose returned to her normal, distant self. Human therapists call this co regulation, but in the horse herd, it looks like nothing more than I am here, my body is calm, you can borrow it if you need it. No one's trying to talk the horse through what it's feeling. No one is suggesting the horse move on or reframe. Not until they're ready and strong enough to continue on independently. I mentioned elephants and their elaborate grief rituals last week. As an elephant dies, the herd gathers and stays nearby. They vocalize in infrasound, frequencies below the range of human hearing, sending vibrations through the ground. The elephants don't rush in to stop nature, but they stand together in shared witness. They make sure that the biological prayer of dying, grief, and transition does not happen alone. A mare, when her foal is frightened, will position herself between the foal and the threat. She's ready to fight if she needs to, but interposing her body is often enough to dissuade the threat. Her witness is a shield. Humans have this capacity. We come from the same long lineage of creatures who learned before language that presence is its own form of medicine. But somewhere in the process of becoming civilized, we confused presence with passiveness and decided that staying still when someone suffered was less loving than doing something about it. We forgot that the herd stillness is not absence, but the most concentrated form of attention one creature can offer another. Presence is a verb. What my husband Christopher has given me this year of continuous loss and transition is something that I don't really have a word for. Offering help implies that one person has what the other lacks and attempts to transfer assistance across a distance. That's not what he does. Christopher doesn't try to change the field of my experience. He doesn't offer platitudes or wish for another reality. He knows when to speak and when not to. I ask him where he learned this, and he always laughs and says, from birth. This sounds simple, but it's not. Most people who love you will fill the silence the way weather fills low pressure automatically, because silence in the presence of suffering feels insufficient. Christopher knows the difference between days I need to process out loud and days I need the processing to happen silently in my body. He just offers a warm, undemanding presence nearby. He doesn't ask me what I need, which is a form of grace. The question, what do you need, is loving, but it also requires the person already inside the hard thing to do the additional labor of assessment and communication. And sometimes there's no capacity left for that. The other thing he does, which took me longer to notice, is that he doesn't try to fix the unfixable. Don't get me wrong, Christopher is a master fixer. He repairs airplanes for a living and can fix just about anything that breaks. But he doesn't try to fix humans. He knows they're not broken. I know from past experience that it is exhausting to be loved by someone who cannot stop trying to solve your unsolvable problems. That brand of communicating usually comes from love and helplessness, the anguish of watching someone you care about suffer without being able to stop it. But there comes a point where we all have to set the problem solving aside. Because when we're confronted with someone else's problem, my job is not to solve it for them. And if I keep trying to solve the unsolvable, I am communicating without meaning to that the nature of what they're experiencing is somehow a failure we both need to work harder to overcome. Bearing witness requires closeness that can only happen when no one is trying to make the other person into something they're not. The human herd. To be a genuine witness is not a passive act. Witnessing is one of the more demanding things one person can offer another, and most people find at some point they cannot sustain it for long. This is not a moral failing, it's a nervous system safety net. You cannot offer co regulation if you are dysregulated. The horse that stands flank to flank with the frightened horse can only offer balance if it has balance to give. People whose own unprocessed losses are very close to the surface will be activated by someone else's grief. Genuine witnessing also requires us to surrender our agendas. This is the one that undoes most well meaning people. They may stay, but they stay towards something that feels like resolution. They need the person they love to feel better. Feeling better means the end of their own worry. But true witnessing carries no absolute destination. It's just a presence without an exit ramp. The witness has to be willing to not know how it all ends while still being there, even if it doesn't end better than it started. My human herd looks very different this year, and there are those who taught me that there's a difference between people who love the version of you that is winning and people who can love the version of you that is simply trying. Both relationships are real, but only one involves witnessing. The absence of a witness is its own kind of coldness. You're allowed to feel that. The ever present witness. If we can't find a witness because finding a witness isn't always viable for every hard thing, we have to learn to offer ourselves this grace as a practice. What does it mean to witness your own life while you're still living in it? We're going to throw all the self help crap out the window. Witnessing is not self analysis. It's not journaling to make sense of the world, though this galls me, nor is it intense processing. Those things have value, but being our own witness is different. This is closer to what the herd does for the frightened horse, orienting toward it, offering presence, staying in the field without trying to change what's in it. The analytical mind wants to understand the pain. The witness just stays with it. Like the hidden drawer of bitter pills in my kitchen, our internal witness has been there the whole time, waiting to be useful. I couldn't see the drawer until I did. Self witnessing is like that. The capacity is already there. Sometimes we just need to stand still long enough in our own kitchen to notice the things that aren't immediately obvious. The sigh that you let complete instead of swallowing back into productivity. The moment in the morning before you start managing your day. The nights when fear comes and instead of immediately reaching for distraction, you try to do what the herd does. Just stay in your own presence without needing life to look better than it looks. I'm unpacking as I write to you this week. There are boxes in the room where my father's bed used to be. There are things I haven't had the time or the bandwidth to deal with. There have been witnesses to the medicine, Christopher finding the drawer, Tamar and Sherry at the table, and you reading or listening to this right now. Witnessing moves in all directions. It is given and received, and when necessary, turned inward. And when we have no witness and must become our own, when we must stand flank to flank with ourselves in the dark and offer the semblance of a calm we can hardly locate, that too is the work. We just honor it all, imperfectly, offering the medicine while we're taking a dose ourselves. That fidelity to yourself and to others is the whole point. Love, Kim. Witnessing your life. This week, I invite you to consider who is at their invisible altar right now and whether you have been present for it. And then, harder, whether you have been present for your own. The audit. Notice your instinct when someone you love is suffering in front of you. Does your hand reach for the fix, the resource, the reframe, the gentle redirect towards feeling better? Can you locate the discomfort underneath that instinct? That discomfort is information. It's telling you something about your own unwitnessed places. And then turn it inward. Where have you abandoned yourself mid-prayer this year? Where have you looked away from your own experience, rushed yourself through it, refused to stay in the field of what is actually true? And the practice. Choose one direction of the following this week. Outward. The next time you are with someone who is carrying something heavy, try for 5 minutes of agenda-free presence. Don't give advice or reframe or nudge them toward an exit. Just orient your body toward theirs the way the herd does, and notice what you might gain by staying nearby without a destination. Or inward. Sit with one true thing about your own life right now without trying to change it. You're not doing this to understand it nor fix it. Just be with whatever it is, the same as you would sit with someone you love. Be the herd. Be the flank-to-flank presence in your own kitchen, ready to open your own hidden drawer. The witness doesn't need to have all the answers. The witness just simply needs to be present.